Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us today for our live of our new beneficial ownership features for trusts. I know a lot of you are very excited about these features, and I'm so glad we get to show you how everything works and get some feedback. I just want to show quickly that we also have the written tutorial, 1 minute, for all of this that you guys can view over here on our actual website. You can see the written tutorial for this whole thing. So definitely check that out just so you can see how everything actually works, but I'll also be going through this after Carl's done presenting. After we are both finished with our presentations, we'll be taking some questions. I will make sure that your names aren't included. That's why it's anonymous, but you can also leave questions in the actual chat here, and we'll take a look at those as well.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's been quite a while since I've presented a webinar, several years now, actually. But this is, yeah, looking forward to this. So trust beneficial ownership. This is something that has been on the radar for us for a while, but it's taken us quite a while to get there. And it also, once we started putting it together, it took us quite a while to develop it because it's pretty complex and that it deals with a lot of stuff. And obviously we wanted to build it so that it covers all the bases for you and saves you time, which ultimately saves you money. So what happened a little while ago was that the master's office, who control all the trusts, they put out this urgent notice. It's on this master's website. We just go there quick. Let's see if it'll open. Yeah. So on the master's website, where they deal with the administration of trusts, which is actually a really useful page, by the way, they had this urgent notice to all trustees. And that was not something that we were aware of. Maybe the SACA guys, the SAPA guys, maybe your institutes made you aware of it, but we certainly weren't aware of it. And there's some deadlines on this thing. So the master's office put out this urgent notice, and it's all to do with this grey listing FICA things. And they said that they made some changes to the Trust Property Control Act, and these rules require that all trustees must now keep accurate details of all things related to beneficial ownership on trusts. Trust has been part of company registers almost since the beginning, but it was there just for convenience. You know, we never used to keep such detailed records of trusts. We had a spring file in the filing cabinet, and that's where we had all the stuff about your trust. Now it makes a lot of sense to get it all electronic, because then you can print out the reports that you need for submissions to SARS, for submissions to the master's office. You can create this spreadsheet that needs to be submitted and uploaded to the master's office. And we've made all this now available. So this is why we're doing it, right? What do we need to do? Well, you need to maintain accurate records of your beneficiaries and all your trust details for that matter. And you need to submit them to the Master of the High Court. Now, this was supposed to be done by 15 November, 2 years ago, nearly 1.5 years ago. Clearly, that hasn't happened in a lot of cases. On that website I showed you just now, there's a webinar presentation that they did, and they estimated that they had 682,000 trusts that needed to have submissions done. That's a lot of trusts. And at the time that they did that webinar, they had submissions of about 50 or 60,000. So not very far down the line. Now, I happened to find out about this because I had or was a trustee on two what I thought were dormant or dysfunctional trusts because they hadn't been used for 20 years. But suddenly I got a message from SARS that I must submit a tax return for these trusts. There were two of them. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, I thought this was all dormant. But apparently there's no such thing as a dormant trust. And according to the DOJ website, I think it is, they make a distinction of a trust that, that is either, let's just have a look here where it is. Okay, you need what they call a dormant trust. You need to submit documentation to them to get it on their register and to then get it marked as dormant and then get it terminated. SARS, on the other hand, say there's no such thing as a dormant trust. You can have a passive trust, and then you don't have to submit much information. You still got to submit regarding the beneficial owners, but you don't have to complete the entire return. But they say that it just stays as passive until you terminate it. So there are a lot of trusts out there which accountants have just left on the, filed them away and thought, oh, these things have died a death, we don't need to worry about them. But actually we do need to worry about them. And so this website tells you how you can get rid of them. Sorry, that's a little bit of an aside. Okay, so we're supposed to maintain these records, we're supposed to submit them. And if we don't, then we can get fined and all sorts of horrible things happen to us. So that legislation that puts all this into place, you can see in the Trust Property Control Act, there were some amendments. They defined who beneficial owners are. And there are these distinct categories, which we have built into the company register system. So when you look at the grounds for ownership control, it's going to be one of these. So what are we required to do? Well, there's certain actions we have to take. Okay, so the trustees got to establish the records. So it's the trustees that are responsible for this. You've got to keep the records. You've got to lodge changes over the records. Ensure that the prescribed information is kept up to date. It's keeping copies of IDs, etc. And company registers now is going to do this for you. If you fill in the fields, keep the details, this is going to be there for you. All right. So that's why we've done this. And we don't want you to get into trouble. Okay. These penalties that they say we could be liable for, 10 million or imprisonment, unlikely that they'll apply those to their full extent. But basically they're saying, we're serious about this. Let's just get our act together and let's just do this thing. All right. So that's why we're doing it. But in addition, SARS have also said, well, we also want this information. Trusts have been abused from a tax planning, maybe evasion, maybe just moving things around a little bit when they shouldn't. And so they want information as well. But the SARS information is slightly different to what the Master's Office want. So we have different sections within company registers to deal with that. This is kind of what you're going to be expected to disclose in the RTR 12s. So depending on whether it's a founder, a trustee, a beneficiary, donor, protector, you need to give certain information. It's names, addresses, income tax numbers, all that sort of thing. When you come to finalize the actual tax return for a trust, they're also going to want annual financial statements, resolutions, copy of the trust instrument. So that's the trustee that was registered, letters of authority, and this one, beneficial ownership document per entity listed. Okay, what does that mean? Well, if you look in their guide, okay, so this was on an actual tax return that at the end of the process, this is what it asked for. Okay, so just to show you, this was just to show you where the passive trust information is. So This ownership document, they say you've got to give them at least one of an organogram, a diagram depicting who controls and who benefits under the trust, or an Excel spreadsheet containing that information. Presumably, we could use the Excel spreadsheet that we submit to the master's office. That could be part of it because it's got all the information plus more. Or some other document which details the ownership structures. So in company registers, we can produce an Excel spreadsheet for the master, which we can upload. Or we could produce another document which just lists all the beneficial owners with all the details that are required to be submitted. Okay, I think I'm going to hand back to Stace, and she's going to go through now in company registers how we do stuff.
There we go. Okay, now we have two trusts here. This ABC Business Trust, I think I'll let Carl talk about that in a few minutes, but I want to just show you guys the actual, excuse me, the actual functionality and how you will add all of your beneficial owners into company registers. So if I go into this sum trust I made up, very creative name. If I go to trustees, we'll start here. You can see I've added a trustee over here, that's me, and I've got two beneficiaries. I have a natural person, and you can see it's got the definition here, and I have another trust. So this will be a juristic person. Now, if we look at what the organogram looks like right now, I've got my trustee with their definition. They have to be a beneficial owner as per the Property Control Act, the Trust Property Control Act, and I have my vested beneficiary that is a beneficiary as per the Act. I have, you can see under the other trust, I have an add subholder button because obviously the whole name of the beneficial ownership game is to find the natural persons at the bottom of everything. So let's talk about how we actually add the subholder. If I go back to beneficial owners, I'm going to add a new beneficial owner because the trustee of the subholding trust is only going to be a beneficial owner. They're not going to be added as a trustee here. They're not going to be added as a beneficiary. They're only going to be a beneficial owner. So if I go add new beneficial owner, I'm just going to put in the names before I talk about any of these definitions here. We'll just put in some random information. Okay, I've put in the name here, and here are some important boxes you need to either tick or untick. In this case, this beneficial owner will not be an active controller. They don't have active control of this parent trust, this main trust. So they're going to be no. Over here, under actual beneficiary, it's also going to be no, because they're not an actual beneficiary of this main trust. If you've done the companies and CC's beneficial ownership, you'll see it is kind of similar there. So they will be a beneficial owner because they're a natural person, a warm body. So this will be ticked as yes. So once again, active controller will be no, actual beneficiary will be no, and beneficial owner will be yes. Now, the most important part is going to be this interest type. So because this is a trustee of a subholding trust, this is going to be a trustee, natural person as contemplated in section 1. And we'll copy to the grounds. You'll see this is a required field now because this has to show up on all of the documentation you submit. If I add the date, I can make it easy and just add the incorporation date, but that doesn't apply here because this is a subholder. So just ignore that I said that, and I'll just click save. Sorry, I'm supposed to select not applicable for the beneficiary type because they're not a beneficiary. Now I should be able to click save. Now you can see I've got Andrew Smith here. He's got beneficial owner ticked. Beneficiary type is not applicable. And if I go to the organogram, I now just need to add Andrew Smith to the organogram because he doesn't show up naturally because he's not an active part of some trust I made up. He's a subholder in another trust. So if I click add subholder, I can click the little question mark button under the subholder field and select Andrew Smith. We just added him. He's going to be at level 1. The levels only apply to subholding. So whenever you are adding your first subholder, they're going to be at level 1. If Andrew Smith was another trust that had subholding in that trust, those subholders would be level 2. But I think Carl has a bit of that in his beneficial ownership diagram. So in this case, Andrew Smith is the first subholder, so he's being added at level 1. And I'm just going to say he has 100% ownership. And if I click save, you'll see we just have a very simple beneficial ownership structure here. We've got the trustee with their definition. We have a beneficiary with their definition. We have a trust as a beneficiary, and we have their trustee underneath with their definition. And if I print this organogram, fix it, but normally it would show up with another trust and its trustee, and then our trustee in this main trust over here, and then the beneficiary in the main trust over here. And the total percentage will add up to 100%. That's the organogram. Let's look at the Excel workbook, because that is also obviously a very important document that you need to submit. So with the Excel workbook, I don't know if we touched on this, but when you submit to the masters, this is the document that you submit. This is, I think, one of the only documents you submit. There are probably IDs and other things as well, but this Excel workbook is the main thing you submit to the master's office for the beneficial ownership. So if once you've finished doing your whole organogram, and once it all looks correct, that's when you just click a button here, Masters Excel Workbooks. That takes us through to this page. You can see we've got some links here for the website and for the upload page. And we just click Create New Workbook from Masters Template. It might take a second. Cool, and you can see it's created it here on the 8th of April, a timestamp. You can tick submitted or not submitted. And now if I click this hyperlink, it will download it, and I will open it quickly. Let's just change the screen. Yeah, you can see we have all of the actual warm bodies. So we've got the trustee of this trust, we have the trustee of the subholding trust, and we have the beneficiary of the main trust. This has everything you need in it to submit directly to the master's office. And those of you that are familiar with submitting to the master, I'm sure you've used this Excel workbook a million times. So the best part now is that you don't have to fill it in manually. This all comes through from CompanyRegisters. Once you've put it into CompanyRegisters, you just click a couple buttons and you have the whole workbook ready to be submitted. If you have put in additional information throughout CompanyRegisters, it will come through. You can see we've got these representative/guardian fields as well. If you've put that into CompanyRegisters, that will also come through. Yeah, let me see if I've got any questions. And then if no one's got any questions, we'll go to Carl and he'll show us that other trust, the business trust. So let me just give everyone a couple seconds.
So let me just go to this business trust one that we've got here quickly so you can see. So on this is a classic business trust kind of setup where we would have one trust with two vested. Okay, so we've got the beneficiaries of the trust are two family trusts. Okay, vesting 60%, 40% in this case, and those would have what we call subholders, or beneficiaries underneath it. So of the Robinson family trust, we have two beneficiaries. Of the Williams family trust, we have two beneficiaries. Okay, so this organogram we can have a look at in here. Maybe this one will be a little bit clearer. There we've got the Robinson family trust, two beneficiaries. Williams family trust, two beneficiaries, then a trustee and a trustee up there. So this, we would go and create that workbook. So hit that button, 5 seconds, and it should be done. Okay, there it is. We can download it like Stacey showed just now. Open it up. The red columns are all required. Okay, the green columns are optional. So yeah, on this one, I didn't fill in all the addresses. Otherwise, the addresses would have come out there, but all the red columns have got their things. You then go to the Department of Justice upload page. Okay, you log in, so you're not a robot. Okay, sends me an OTP code, but this is where you would do the upload. So any changes to the beneficial owners have to get uploaded. Remember in the presentation I showed, you've got to keep records up to date. So it is in here. The actions must keep the register in the prescribed form, keep it up to date, and notify the master of any changes. So we won't go to that website because I don't get the OTP. It's fine. So this thing gets uploaded there. So yeah, there's no interface to the master's office. Any changes that you make, change of trustees, whatever, you have to fill in their forms. But you can just go to the Department of Justice website here and find out how you do that. Okay, this is actually quite good on this page. All right, any other questions?
We did have someone asking if you can file the spreadsheet from the app. I think we just demonstrated that we have the links to file from company registers, but there's no direct interface,
yes.
like Carl said.
Yes, that's not been made available just. And each company secretary or whatever, you have to have your own login at that website. It's very easy to set it all up though. It takes a few minutes, and then you'll see any trust that you have uploaded. That information will be there that you can then look and check and see what you uploaded, etc. Some of the features that we've created in this, when you're adding a new beneficial owner, for example, okay, you can copy from any existing one that is within your profile. So you can just find that person that you're looking for and just select them, and then their details will all come through. The other thing we can do is we can upload a copy of the ID. So that's really handy because then you've got a copy of the ID right there attached to that person, because that is something that you have to have. When you upload the documents for, I'm going to show you quick. When you upload on the beneficial ownership register, this is just an example that came from their webinar, you have to sign this document. Okay, you've got to confirm this, and you confirm that you're keeping the records. You have certified copies of all the beneficial owners of the trust, right? So that's quite important that you have those things on file. So we try to make that easy for you. You just upload it on here, and then you've got it on file. Same with the documentation. So under our minutes, resolutions, minutes, and documents, you should upload your letters of authority, your trust deed, so that they're all here. Because when you come to do the tax return, then you can just grab them from here and upload them to the SARS website.
Cool. Do you want to pull up your definitions document again to talk about, because I know when you're adding a beneficial owner or a beneficiary or a trustee, you need to know where they're going to go and whether or not they're going to be those few tick boxes like active controller, actual beneficiary, or beneficial owner.
Okay, yeah, so it can get quite complex when you're dealing with building this organogram. So we put this document together, which will enable you to do this more easily. So we'll make this available on the website. It's not there yet, or sorry, we'll make it available as a help link within company registers. So you have these different classifications that make someone a beneficial owner, and these are down this left-hand side here, right? Those are the only things that make someone a beneficial owner. Those are per those definitions that I showed you earlier in here, I think it was, yeah. So in the Trust Property Control Act, the one thing that they don't have in the definitions, interestingly enough, is donor, but they decided to add that at the end. So we put in the donor, and there could be two. There could be a juristic person, legal person, or a natural person. So the founder is the person who, when the trust is created, donates money to the trust. A donor would happen after the trust has already been established. So they're very similar to the founder. They're just after the establishment of the trust. So that's where we've added them in. And yeah. So what we've done with this spreadsheet is, okay, the founder. So looking at the founder, how do we represent the founder in the organogram and in the beneficial owner register? And it tells you what you do. Under the trust details, you go and add them as a donor or a founder. Okay. Under the beneficiaries, you don't put them in as a beneficiary because they're not a beneficiary. Okay. They could be a beneficiary as well, but just as a founder, by this definition, they are not a beneficiary, but they are a beneficial owner because that's the definition. Beneficial owner includes a founder. Okay, so they get a yes for beneficial owner, a no as a beneficiary, and their grounds would be founder. Okay, then we tick them either active or inactive, depending. So that would depend on the trust deed. What rights does that founder have? In many cases, they have no rights at all, so we would say they're not active. Or if they're deceased, obviously they can't be active, and then that would just there wouldn't be any subholders, and they would come out on the organogram. Same with the trustee. So if there's a trustee that's a natural person, what do? We go to the trustees and we add them as a trustee. Are they a beneficiary? No, but they are a beneficial owner by definition. Okay, and there's a definition. Are they active? Are they currently exercising control? Yes or no, and then they'll come out on the organogram if they marked as yes. Okay, so this spreadsheet is going to help us by looking at, well, what is this person, beneficiary? How do we deal with them to get them onto the organogram, to just try and make it a little bit easier for you. Yeah.
I also have on the website, I have a flow chart, but I think that I'll show that now. Let's just show you here. I'm just waiting for it to come up. There, let me see if I can see it. Yeah. So this is just for strictly when you are adding a role player, a person. So it says, are they a trustee, juristic person, who is a beneficiary, etc., etc. That's also nice to refer to when you have to add all of your trustees and subholders. That's on this this whole guide, Trust Beneficial Ownership, a full guide on our support page in the My Company Registers website. I'm not seeing any other questions, but I just want to give everyone a couple more seconds just to. Okay, what have we got here? Someone's asking, does the master only require the spreadsheet? I think we have a document here with the requirements for submission. Let me just check. Yeah, with the master, it is just the spreadsheet. When you're submitting the beneficial ownership for a trust, you're only uploading that Excel spreadsheet. I think in the screenshots that Carl showed, where in companies you normally submit a mandate with the beneficial ownership update, with the trust, you just tick a box that says, I am mandated to upload this information. Yeah, so when you upload to the master, you're only using the Excel spreadsheet that you can get straight from company registers.
The master obviously has other requirements too. If there's a change of trustees, you have to notify him. That's not through the beneficial ownership register. That you would have to do in the normal way, and you get the new letters of authority that get issued. And those are all being done electronically now as well, I understand, with QR codes and things. So the master's office is making a lot of improvements in terms of digitization. And yeah, that's all very positive.
I've got another question here asking if there's a good document that staff can print for partner review. I'm assuming maybe you mean as you are managing a trust, if there are documents you can print as you're managing that trust for the staff to send off to the partner for review. And for that, if I'm understanding correctly, you could just print the whole register. Pretty much every page on company registers is also printable. You can see you can print all under print all registers with tasks. That's not really applicable here. With the registered office, you can print that register. With the residence and docs, you can print that register, so on and so forth. Pretty much on every page, there is the ability to print and send off. Yeah, so I think maybe I misunderstood that, but it is also just good to know that you can print pretty much anything you can see in company registers. I don't know if we need to, I know one thing I got confused about is this active controller. I don't know, did you already mention what it means to be an active controller, or why we implemented that? Because that is now also in effect on companies and CCs, and it determines whether or not someone shows up in the beneficial owner's organogram, along with whether or not they're a security holder. I don't know if we want to talk more about that, but that's another thing, like a change to note, is that we now have this active definition for every role player across the system now.
Okay, so if you look there on the organogram in red, it says that it shows the beneficiaries and active controllers. So that's how you get someone onto the organogram at the highest level. They are either a beneficiary, in other words, they're like a security holder, a beneficiary, or an active controller. So that active controllers would be the trustees, because they are the ones who control the trust. So they get onto the organogram by ticking them as active controllers.
Right. I mean, that's, yeah, I think that's what I did with this one down here. So that's why that trustee is available. I've got someone asking if the video presentation will be available later. Yes, I'm going to upload it to YouTube probably tomorrow or the day after, just like we have with all of our other webinars. I think I'll show you the YouTube page quickly, because I think maybe a lot of people don't know that we have a YouTube page with all these webinars. So let me show you here. That's on this page. You can either access them on the support page on My Company Registers. You can see we've got one for our e-signatures. We have one for the last webinar that I made. So let's just click on this, and there's a link here, and I'll open
to these banking.
Yeah, so it'll be on this Company Registers YouTube page. That's very available for viewing. So that's where you'll find the video presentation later, probably tomorrow or the day afterwards. Or I will also send emails with the link to the YouTube recording once it's published on YouTube. Okay, I'm not really seeing any more questions, which I think is a good sign. So I'm just going to put up on the page on the screen here our contact page again. So if you have any questions after this, or in general, you need to contact us, you can get us on email, support@companyregisters.co.za. You can also submit a support ticket on mycompanyregisters.co.za/support, or you can call us or WhatsApp us on our cell number there. Yeah, if anybody has any questions after the fact, feel free to give me a call and we can talk more about it. I'm happy to keep talking about this. I mean, we're pretty excited about all these new features. I haven't actually seen many other programs that are catering to this for now, probably because it is pretty complex and it's not easy to build. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps us up. So thank you everybody for joining. I hope that you enjoyed our webinar. I hope that it was informative. I hope you understood everything. When I upload the video presentation, the organogram will be fixed. So I will make sure to show everyone what the normal organogram would look like. Yeah, I hope that you guys have a great day further. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the next webinar. Cheers, everybody.